From Silicon Slopes, I'm joined by Conal Byrne and Gayle Troberman. Thank you so much for joining us from iHeartMedia. We appreciate you guys joining us in the Nasdaq studio. Thank you so much. So, Gayle, tell us a little bit about what you do at iHeartMedia.
Sure. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer, and that's a fancy way of saying a lot of what I do is I help obviously market all of our products and services and brands, but I spend a lot of my time with other CMOs helping them understand the possibility and the massive potential of audio marketing, which isn't as well understood or as well invested in as it should be, given it's where consumers spend a third of their media time.
Fascinating. And Conal, how about you?
I run the digital audio group at iHeartMedia. So in Q1 of this year, we created two operating segments at iHeart. One we call the multi-platform group, and one we call the digital audio group. Digital encompasses all of the things we do that are in digital. So our iHeartRadio app, our 1,000+ websites, our social media reach, but also our podcast network, the iHeart Podcast Network, that's the biggest in the country and is one of the strongest growth engines at our company right now. And that's my day job, night job, and everything in between.
Fantastic. So you were both just on stage here at Silicon Slopes. Talk to us about your talk and what you spoke about.
Yeah, we were talking about what we like to call the audio revolution. Like I said, consumers are spending a lot more time with audio. 9 out of 10 consumers listen to broadcast radio. Podcasts are the fastest growing medium on the planet, probably in the history of media right now. So it's explosive growth there, and obviously streaming audio. And yet most marketers are not as well versed in how to do great audio marketing, why they need to understand how do I show up as a brand in audio format. We've been so obsessed as marketers in our look, right? How do we look? How do we light our brands, right? What is the font and, what's that animation? And, and we've gotten so good at all our visual cues. And now that consumers are spending so much more time with audio, it's really a secret weapon for entrepreneurs like folks here at Silicon Slopes to really have a bigger share of voice, a competitive differentiator. It's a really easy, accessible, and affordable medium. So that was the conversation we had, how to win with audio.
It really is. Did the pandemic accelerate this kind of move towards audio? Because I feel like I personally listened to a lot more podcasts during the pandemic than I'd ever had before.
Yes, the mass reach of audio, it is not a new thing, by the way. Like broadcast radio has been reaching most of American adults a month for a while. It's just that now I feel that advertisers and listeners alike are understanding that it is everywhere, that they need to sort of level up with their perception of audio, that it is actually the hottest audio or media type, I think, in the world right now. Podcasting inside of that, yes, it was already on a crazy growth trajectory.
Sure.
As more creators jumped in, more listeners jumped in, and now more brands jumped in. Yes, quarantine accelerated that. I think, to be clear, there was some interesting signals in quarantine. Two genres, a data point that's kind of funny, two genres that grew the most in quarantine were news and comedy. News because we wanted to know what is going on. Yeah, and sometimes they were the same podcast.
For a couple of years there, they were the same.
But you had, 2020 was an interesting year, I'll put it that way, where the news cycle was hard to keep up with. I think podcasting did a very good job helping people digest that news cycle in a trustworthy, calm way. The flip side of that was comedy, where people either needed a respite from it all, or, all kidding aside, the Trevor Noah podcast that we distribute as part of the iHeart Podcast Network was both things at the same time. It was a way to understand the news cycle in maybe a more honest, certainly more funny, maybe more honest way. So those two grew faster than others. But we also just saw creators jumping in. We have a multi-year awesome partnership with Shonda Rhimes. She has a production company called Shondaland. They were ramping up their development, starting to pre-produce a lot of shows. That just went a lot faster because they were like, okay, the normal stuff we do with our days, those production sets have stopped down.
Yeah. when production was shut, audio could keep going.
Audio could
And
keep
it
going.
made for every one of those productions just
That's right.
that much easier to get.
right.
But of course, like high production is so important. I mean, I think of audio as always such an intimate medium, right?
Yeah.
Like I always associate with those
Yes.
hosts in a way
Yes.
that they feel like they're your friends. Gayle, how do you talk to brands about that and kind of the value that that medium brings to them?
Yeah, I wish they got it as well as you do. You're exactly right. Audio is an incredibly intimate, honest medium, right? I mean, all those words are cliche, authenticity, but people have these deep, trusted relationships. We talk a lot of like our biggest broadcast radio shows, The Breakfast Club, or Ryan Seacrest, or Elvis Duran show. They speak to millions of people for 3-4 hours live, unscripted, every morning, and everyone thinks they show up to listen to music, but they only play 3 songs an hour. So and I think that's to answer your first question too. I think one of the big reasons we saw such growth with both broadcast radio and podcasts during COVID is people were lonely, and audio is companionship. Audio is an intimate, trusted, honest relationship, and you hang out with people you get to know over days and weeks and years and episodes, right? And you build this high trust, and you know them because they're vulnerable and they're honest at the mic, and it's a beautiful place for brands to be, but it's not a place to come in and be too artificial or too produced. We always coach brands that what you want to do with your audio creative is you just want to have a conversation. And the simpler you can do that, the more honest you can be with that, the better results we tend to see.
I think we have a drive as humans to be part of community. We have a drive as brands to be part of conversation, so that you're not just a pre-roll or a post-roll on a piece of content, but you're actually part of the conversation in between, so you can move product better, so you can convince people that you're offering a good thing. You want to be part of the conversation. I think there's been a default setting. Well, social media checks those boxes for me, but it's been a challenging couple of years for social media. Broadcast radio and audio more generally is there and checks those boxes in a huge way.
Yeah.
In a huge way. You are part of a community. You are a super fan base, whether it's Charlemagne the God in The Breakfast Club or Laverne Cox on her podcast that we co-produced with Shonda Rhimes. And you're part of the conversation as a brand in a way that other media types just can't do that. So it's been a pretty interesting year or two during COVID, especially to see that change.
Absolutely. All right, Conal and Gayle, last question for you. Where do you see the future of audio going, and perhaps what's iHeartMedia's role in it?
Whew, I can jump in real quick and just say what's exciting for us is as hot as audio is now, the most exciting time is ahead. It sounds like spin. It's actually true. All the innovation that you saw in tech products over the last 20 years was primarily around video. There are apps that we all know and use a lot, Instagram, Snapchat, now TikTok. There's a trail of apps that even don't exist anymore, but that were really great product guys trying to hack good, new, cool ways to create and distribute video. It was always video. Meerkat, Periscope, Vine, Boomerang.
It was always video.
That's about to happen in audio. You see the beginnings of that now with the social audio category. We will power a lot of that innovation through our own iHeartMedia product team, but that's really exciting. So you have creators jumping in fast into podcasting and innovating new ways to make shows, like iHeart 3D audio, a whole new way to make and hear a show. But you also have product folks innovating how to distribute and consume that stuff. That's when you start to see just hyper innovation happen across the next decade, is when both sides are doing that at the same time. And not to mention brands who will also benefit from all of this. So it's going to be a cool decade.
Yeah, I think listening is going to continue to grow with wireless headphones, right? Have only really just entered the marketplace in the last couple of years. People's ears are going to be connected to the grid more, so they're going to be spending more and more time with audio, which is the easiest to consume media. And I hope more brands figure out what their audio brand is, what they sound like, how to show up in audio. I think we're going to see the consumer growth, so I think the revenue growth can't be far behind.
Well, it's a very exciting future. Conal and Gayle, thank you so much for joining us at Silicon Slopes.
Thank you.
Awesome.
And we look forward to hearing about all of iHeart's innovations in the future.
Thank you. Very grateful.
Thanks.
Thank you very much.